People don't want to think for themselves anymore.
Well, they're conditioned at work. Think about if you have a job. The majority of people in this country have a job where you have a boss. The bosses are a very small minority. The majority of people work for that boss. If you work for a corporation, they have very strict rules that they'd like you to follow. There's behavior rules, there's language rules, there's dress rules, there's, rules about the time you're supposed to be there and the amount of work you're supposed to do and what you're supposed to take home and what's required of you. People are conditioned to have someone tell them what they can and can't do. And then they get off on Friday and they can't wait to get drunk. And that's part of why they want to get drunk, is they want to escape. They want to escape this grind of a world. A person who can become autonomous, a person who can have their own job where it's their business or it's their product that they're selling or their art that they're selling, or there's something where you can be self-sufficient. That is the biggest freedom that a person can have in this culture. And most people don't have that freedom. So most people are conditioned to have someone lay the rules out for them, tell them when they're supposed to be there, tell them what they get when they work for an hour. That most people don't have the ability to just think for themselves. It's been taken away from them because they want to make a living.
Yeah, then you get into student loans.
So the screenshot that you see, I was watching this video, and under that video they had another video. And this is basically talking about, I can't work a 9 to 5. I'd rather die than work a 9 to 5. And I was thinking, because I'm older, right? I'm in my mid-30s. And there are some things that propelled me or compelled me to, pursue different entrepreneurial endeavors or to try and be my own boss. As you can see, there are more videos on the screen. But this happened early for me in life. And everybody is not built like that. Everybody, I'll say the majority of people, weren't on the same type of time I was on, as far as like, okay, I want to, take this alternative path type shit. Like, most people don't have that mindset. They didn't have that mindset. But now, when I look at the people around me, when I look at, just a lot of women nowadays, even, because what they do a lot of the cutesy businesses. So they become estheticians and open up a shop. They become masseuses, and open up a massage spot, or they become like, they do lashes. They open up a beauty spot. They do hair. They open it. Like, so when it comes to those trades, the beauty trades and things like that, a lot of these chicks are entrepreneurial and stuff. And you look and you see the statistics. Like, there was a statistic, something like the percentage of males that actually work jobs is lowering. It is lowering. And we are getting to a very peculiar point. Now, I've been knowing about the economy and things like that, which we'll probably get into that during this video. But the question that I have is, what was the shift? Because these types of videos have been out for quite a while, but there's an increase in these types of videos, this type of activity and stuff like that. The question is, when did it become like an option to not work a 9 to 5 job? When did it become a thing to where it's popular for people to say, I don't want to work a job? And how did it become popular and things of that nature? So I'm going to dive into that a little bit, and I'm going to give you my thoughts and some of the things I think as far as some of what I have seen. So I want to go back in time a little bit. When I was 18, I'll tell this story very quickly. I was in college. I was on an elevator, right? I got on, there was this older white dude. He was probably like 24, 22, somewhere in that ballpark, right? And it was a very old white woman. She was probably like 60, 80, somewhere in that ballpark. They're talking about a girl that they know, right? This dude asks, oh yeah, how is Sue or whatever? And we're going from like the 5th floor all the way to the 1st. Long story short, this chick got a degree in zoology, and what was she doing with a degree? Scooping animal poop for minimum wage. She was scooping animal poop for minimum wage with a college degree that she had student loans on. When I heard that story, I cannot remember because it was so long ago if I made a sound or if I made a face. I'm sure I probably did both. I'm sure I probably couldn't help myself and did both. But I know that was like a stab in the gut. That is something that I am going to remember for the rest of my life. While I was in college, I heard a story because I already was skeptical about what was going on, and I didn't really understand college in the first place. I didn't even know that I was taking out loans. I didn't even, like, that's how oblivious I was. Like, my parents, they weren't making it clear, yo, you're going to have to, you're going to be in thousands of dollars of debt that you're going to have to pay back. That understanding wasn't given to me. I didn't even like know. It was just crazy, bro. I'm not going to get that deep into it, but listen, that let me know, listen, this shit is not really for me. And I got to pursue an alternative route because I refuse to pay all this money and just like, go through this process and then y'all like play me and give me a minimum wage job or is laying me off or think y'all could talk to me any type of way or anything like that. So as far as me being entrepreneurial and things like that, that gave me that spark to some degree. Now, when we get past that, what were the resources I had to, fuel this what was in me and stuff like that? Well, they have books by Donald Trump and, Robert Kiyosaki and et cetera, Tony Robbins, all that. Russell Simmons got a book called Super Rich. I read that a long time ago. So I was really consuming a lot of stuff, and I even got an entrepreneurial friend who is doing very great now. He wasn't doing great then. We were both coming up at the same time. He's doing great now. I'm not about to get on here and tell y'all I'm the $1 million man or no shit like that. But listen, he's doing great. The thing I noticed as I would go to work different jobs, the people that I was working with, they didn't really have any, and I'm talking about younger people along with me. They didn't have any plans for the future. They didn't have an escape plan from the 9-to-5s or anything like that. They weren't even considering anything like that. They were just living day by day. Another thing I also noticed is the jobs I was working, I seen a lot of older people. And the one thing that I said, and I still say to this day, is, bruh, the last thing I want to do is when I am 50 or when I am in my mid 40s, I'm working anything in that ballpark. And I even say, bro, because I done seen dudes in walkers and stuff like that. And they might be retired for real. But even if I'm in my 60s, 70s, 80s, like I absolutely don't want to be working at a job that an 18-year-old could just walk in and work at for a low wage. I don't want to do that. But that's just my frame of mind. As far as the people around me, none of them really thought past tomorrow. A lot of them didn't think past today, nonetheless, the moment. So with that being said, that's what the majority was. Now, one of the things I remember around like the early 2010s was Wiz Khalifa rapping like, I never had a job. And that's the first person as far as an entertainer I heard brag about not having a job and stuff like that. Typically, you may hear a street dude say something along those lines, but when it comes down to like a regular person, the majority of adult Americans, especially at one point, worked a 9-to-5 job. That's just what it is. And even if we look at today or yesterday, whatever, everybody cannot be an entrepreneur. I know people would like to think that, and I'm not talking about because they can't make it or anything like that. Let's just say everybody decided to become carpenters. Like, who are you going to do carpenter work for? And even then, if everybody decides to do carpenter work, the market is going to be ridiculously saturated to where prices are going to have to go down, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just one occupation, one industry and things like that. And it would be it would be extremely competitive. And if you do business, you already know that it's competitive enough as is. Some people would rather go and work for somebody else and also be a consumer. So it is what it is when it comes to that. But I would say, and this is me being honest, when I started to see other people like, yo, we could make some money doing something else, it's really come down to a lot of this internet shit and this gig economy shit. We'll get to the people's trying to start businesses later. But what happened is two things. Number one, Uber really started this whole shit off. And with Uber, you start to get Uber Eats, Lyft. Then you got, DoorDash, all these different apps where you could get in your car, drive around, and deliver people shit, right? Craigslist and stuff like that existed before, but that's much harder to do. eBay also existed before, but people just really, it's not convenient enough. They have higher, what do you call it? To really qualify to do this shit, it's a higher barrier. But when you look at some of if you get Ubers and stuff like that, if you are in a tremendously big city, yeah, it's competitive. So you may come across some quality Ubers. If you are in a place that is not saturated, boy, you have more than likely seen some of the worst Ubers you have seen in your life. Some crackheads, some fiends, all types of shit, dirty, junky cars, husband and wife or girlfriend and boyfriend giving you a ride. It smell like cigarettes. The guy is smoking a cigarette in the car. You might even see a meth pipe laying down or something, like just some crazy shit. I got some Uber horror stories. If you want, I could actually tell them someday. But listen, the bar for that is low. Anybody could do it. Anybody could. They don't really have a good, a good way to filter the quality of the people who get qualified to give the rides. They don't really have something good for that. Now, that's the first thing. The second thing that really shot a lot of these people into this shit is social media money. Social media money is meant, because YouTube has been giving out money for a long time. I was getting YouTube money with a different channel in like 2011, 2014. And then they started this partner program bullshit where they just shut down. Oh yeah, all that money that you had, that when you only pay out $100 and stuff like that, you're going to be stuck at $43 and we're going to hold that $43 forever until you get, all this watch time and meet all these ridiculous requirements. They were paying everybody who uploaded anything on YouTube and got views. That's how it used to work. Then they created the partner program, made the barrier to entry higher. So yeah, that was that. But then what happens, because YouTube is still an option and it's possible to get through that barrier of entry. But what happened? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, especially TikTok, they began to pay their users. So let me keep it a bean with you now. You ready? You ready? Brace yourself. There are people on TikTok. There are women on TikTok. Oh, I forgot to mention Twitch, Kick, all of this stuff. But there are women on TikTok who just sit up and just show their feet. They just show their feet and get a lot of money. Let me put number 3 as OnlyFans. Let's just get that out the way. Or whatever. You could even put that in with this one. OnlyFans as far as social media money, whatever. You got some guys on there who play video games and stuff. The funny thing about it is when it comes to a man getting money on TikTok or even social media, the bar is much higher for how talented and just how skilled and et cetera, he has to be. It's just the truth. If you take anything, damn near anything, bro. When you go and look up a lot of these guitar covers and stuff like that, you'll see a lot of chicks. And I'm not saying that they not good because, shit, I'm not a guitar expert. So I can't tell you if they're mediocre, if they're just good at best or if they're absolutely phenomenal. I can't tell you that. But one thing I can tell you from knowing what I know about certain things in different niches is you could be below mediocre, not horrible, not really bad, but just you're escaping bad by a slim margin as a woman. If you look attractive, that is going to get a lot of people clicking and viewing. Period, point blank. But as a dude, you better be the real fucking deal. You ugly motherfucker. So with that being said, like social media money, you got people making ridiculous Facebook statuses, doing all types of reels, kids doing pranks. You see stuff like, and this is where it fucks people up. This is where it really fucks people up. People like me grew up playing video games, right? I actually wanted to be a video game developer when I went to college. When you look at these kids now, they had a Fortnite tournament. They were giving away millions of dollars. Anybody could have entered. But guess what? The people who won were kids that were under 18 and they won millions. You can go and Google it. They won millions for playing the game. Let's take it a step further because that's just a contest. You have people who are actually sitting up, men, women, adults, kids. They're sitting up and playing the games on Twitch, on Kick, on maybe even Rumble, and they are getting paid through Streamlabs. Like Streamlabs will have them on all of those at once. They are getting paid. They are getting paid, family. They're getting paid. You look at somebody like Casanat, he came up doing pranks, and now sometimes he'll play video games, and big companies will come, and they will throw a big-ass check at him, dog. So if it wasn't for this internet shit, he wouldn't have a lane. So I think I'm going quite a bit long on this stuff. Let me just begin to spread it out. So when we look at that, those two things, the gig economy and internet money, that's what really, got a lot of people into like, I don't have to work a job. This is the alternative. Now I have to move on from that because there are some other things I want to touch on as far as how things got fucked up. But one of the things that I want to point out as well is when you look at people like a Tony Robbins, or you look at, the Joe Rogan clip at the beginning of this, and the just all of this stuff. You look at the Andrew Tates, you look at the Dan Bilzerians, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. What's being pushed onto a lot of us is that working a 9 to 5 not only is not shit, but it's not the way that you should live, and that it's possible for you to get riches. It is possible for you to pave your own way. This is something that if you feel this way, your experiences may have sparked it, but there was something else more than likely that helped influence that as far as some of these creators or a book you've seen or whatever. Because this type of message, it wasn't being pushed as much as it is now in 2010. So somewhere between 20, I don't even want to say 15, really. I want to say 17 to now. In the post-pandemic, especially 2020 to now, absolutely has been pushed like fuck a 9 to 5. Like you got to go and you got to go and grind. You got to go and get your business, your LLC, you got to XYZ, like you could say back then because people had that like, what was that? Like those pyramid schemes and stuff like that I can't remember. Where are you now, or where are they, whatever that shit was, the Forex trading and shit like that. So that was really something that began to get people, because those became popular out of thin air, out of nowhere. And pyramid schemes had existed the whole time, like prepaid legal and et cetera, et cetera. But, that stuff began to get people in that mode because it was spreading like wildfire and stuff like that. It was very popular. But a lot of the rhetoric from Gary Vee type figures or Andrew Tate and et cetera, that has really been what has been propelling a lot of people to get into a lot of different drop shipping or whatever. With like, just try something. They just try something and just say this 9 to 5 shit ain't it. There are two more things that I want to touch on because I think these are actually the core of what caused, people to be like, fuck this 9 to 5 shit, really. So the first thing out of the last two is going to be the experience at the job. These jobs absolutely don't give a fuck about you. The work that you do at these jobs is bullshit work. The politics at work is bullshit. Every job I've had, somebody has been on my dick and I've hated somebody, and it's typically been an authority figure. And this is not a unique experience to me because guess what? A lot of other people at those jobs hate that same person because that same person is a cunt that should have never been put in a position that they are in. And this is not even unique to me at all because everybody everywhere has somebody that they hate at their job. This is such a common experience. This even goes back to before I was born. Like, Mr. Spacely was a dickhead. I can't remember where I heard this, and I really wish I could. I don't know if it was out of an audio book or if it was from a YouTube video, but somebody was talking about bullshit jobs and stuff like that. And basically, I'm pretty sure it was out of an audio book. Wish I could remember which one. But, if you have a job that's like, okay, you were a nurse or something like that, that is a job where you are actually valuable and this is actually necessary to society. But the job that's a bullshit job as far as what the dude was talking about is what his job was to do. Like, before they clean this room or they do whatever, he has to give clearance for people to clean this room. And he has to call another set of people who have to call another set of people. Instead of somebody just saying like, oh yeah, you could clean the room. So it's like he's a middleman for communication. It's bullshit. And when you look at a lot of white collar jobs, most of them are bullshit. Even if you look at some of the blue collar jobs to some extent, a lot of them are necessary, but to the frequency of employment that they have and even to the frequency of work that some of them do, some of it is bullshit because in some places people will just be sitting around clowning all day and not really have any work to do, but they getting paid and stuff like that. Shit, there are some factory jobs where people actually sleep on the production floor in the open and nobody has a problem with it. It's completely normal and that's a part of the culture. And they get paid while they sleep. This is a bullshit job. You clearly don't need to be there. But listen, when it comes to that, as far as sleeping at the job and stuff like that, nobody's really going to complain too much about that. People do complain about their jobs being boring. Some people complain about their jobs being mundane. But really, one of the biggest things I think as far as the jobs is, some of the ridiculous shit as far as the power dynamics. And I'll give you one example. There was a company, and I'm not going to say the company name, but we're going to talk about like this office, right? It's an office. So we'll call the office, Light Bulb. That's the name of the job, Light Bulb. So Light Bulb, they do whatever. We'll just say that they are an accounting office or whatever, right? So accountants work at Light Bulb. If somebody gets sick and they need to miss more than 2 days because, the job doesn't allow you to miss more than a day of work, really. If you miss 8 hours, anything over 8 hours, you're going to get written up or disciplined by the end of the month. If you have if you have a medical emergency and stuff like that, there is nothing that they can do for you in that office. They still look at the time like this is time that you have lost. So, we're going to give you the write-up and we are going to discipline you for this. This is the process you have to go through to get that time excuse that we discipline you for, and for us to take the discipline away. What you need to do is call a different company called Neo. So you work at Lightbulb, and you can't go to HR or anything for this. You got to call Neo. You got to call Neo and tell them that you got, you had an ailment or whatever. Neo then asks you for proof, hospital bills, whatever. You shoot that information to Neo. Neo says, we will process this within 4 to 8 weeks or some bullshit. And then they get the information to, your Lightbulb. And then Lightbulb says, okay, well, based on the information we have, we're going to excuse, that time, and we are going to not reprimand you. We're going to take away that reprimanding that we gave you. So now you have a clean slate as far as that incident is concerned. And this is the thing about it. I'm going to tell you some real shit, because this is, fuck it. I'm going to give it to you like it is, bro. This is a true story. So I had something like that happen to me. And the issue was, once I called Neo, I'm waiting for the information to get back to HR and stuff, right? The HR director is a fucking cunt. He's either never there or he says my shit is not there. My job is on the line. Remember, this is how I pay my fucking bills. If I lose this job, who knows when I'm going to find another job, and there will be a lapse in my money, and I'm going to be in panic mode, right? So this guy, this cunt, is playing with my livelihood. And you would think he's not playing with my livelihood, but let me tell you, so the shit was supposed to be there for weeks. He's saying it's not there. I see somebody else, and yes, I'm going to let you know. He was white. The woman in HR was black. She asked, because I was looking for dude, and she asked, could I help you with anything? I said, I was looking for, the cunt, basically, because he was supposed to help me with this, Neo shit. Oh, well, let me check the folders and stuff like that. 2-3 days before, he told me the shit wasn't there. And they said it should be there in 4 weeks. Bro, we 8 weeks in type shit, more than that. Bro, it was right there. First time she went to look for it, it was right there. Come to find out later, dude quit 3 weeks later. And he really didn't give a fuck about the job. He really was just collecting a check. He didn't give a fuck about anybody there. But this is how crazy that system is. This is how ridiculous that system is. You could get shot in front of the building, in front of everybody. Everybody in the office knows John got shot in front of the building. If John doesn't, even though he's shot, if he doesn't excuse the time through Neo, he's done. Now, he could file a lawsuit, he could do whatever, but they are not going to go against the policies and procedures that they have just because they seen him get shot. Now, I know this was long as far as this part of the video, but you have to think how fucking stupid that is. You have to think about how stupid that is. You got to think about how your livelihood is in somebody else's hands, even when you have a health crisis or you have a family crisis or something along those lines, an emergency, whatever the case may be. You got people whose houses explode and their manager will say, well, you're still coming in today, right? No empathy, no nothing. No, oh, man, that's fucked up. Your house blew up. Just take a few days. No. You still coming in today, right? There will be people, bruh. I seen a chick next to me crying her face off, bruh. Crying her face off because she had something going on, some serious pain. I can't remember what it was. But they told her, listen, we don't give a fuck what emergency you got going on right now. If you leave, you are fired. This is the type of culture that we have in America as far as our employers. I've worked plenty of jobs, and the 2 stories that I just told were 2 different jobs. Who wants to be subjected to this shit? Even on some other shit, I heard somebody else tell a similar story. Like, this shit happens all the time, everywhere, all throughout America. So that's what it is. Like, when you see enough of this shit, or even hear about enough of this shit, or even worse, experience this shit yourself, it'll really turn you off from working for these people. And even worse than this, like, well, not even worse, but still, one thing I didn't mention is there is no loyalty. No matter how much time you put in, they still will shit on you. They said no matter how dedicated you are, you will still get shitted on if people feel like you should be shitted on. And guess what? You want to know the funny thing? The people, and I've been a person who really didn't give a fuck. The people who really don't give a fuck, they fuck with them more. They fuck with them more. And those people will usually get rewarded more than the people who give most of a fuck. That's crazy. And the thing about it is, people just look at me like I'm cool. So they just like, oh man, he just shit. He seemed like he could be a good leader. So we just gonna give it to him. Fuck it, he cool. But that's it on that. Let's get to the last point. Now, this is the last point. And I talked about this in the very first video I did on this channel, and I talk about it quite a bit. But listen, it comes down to this. The reason that this 9-to-5 shit is not making as much sense as it used to is because everything else that I mentioned, people would be able to deal with it if they were actually making a comfortable living off of what they were doing. Let me say that again if you didn't understand it. People could deal with bad policies, assholes at the job, a lack of loyalty, doing a job they fucking hate or just don't like. They could deal with all of that shit. They could deal with all of it if they were getting paid enough to buy a house in this economy, buy a car and be able to afford the car note along with that, have a wife and possibly afford everything that comes with that, as far as, you know, getting groceries for 2 people, getting her a car, and also, oh my goodness, having kids on top of that. We'll say 2 minimum. There was a time where a guy could go out and get a job and provide for a family by himself. By himself, without a college degree, without paying $80 million in student loans and shit. And it's not that he would be living lavish, but again, think about this. He would be able to afford a house and groceries and cars and still be able to buy clothes and all that shit for the kids and still do Christmas and all that stuff. Like, there used to be a time where that could be done off one income. That time is beyond fucking done. I don't care what these single moms is telling you, how they make it work. They getting WIC, all types of shit. They got food stamps. They trying to stay poor so they could keep getting them food stamps and shit. They buying food stamps off of other bitches when they actually start getting money. Like, come on, man. It's crazy out here, bro. I don't care how they make it look. I don't care how they make it look. For the average person, it is not going like that. If you have an entry-level job right now, good luck getting a fucking house and not being underwater. Good luck. I mean, this is the crazier part. Renting costs more than getting a house. Costs more than a mortgage right now. Rent prices are absolutely fucking ridiculous. Especially me knowing what I paid in rent in 2010 versus 2024 for the same fucking spots. fucking insane. Now, the funny thing about this is people, all of this shit that I mentioned, everything that I mentioned in this video, people who get a lot of money, they typically don't understand this and they aren't empathetic to this at all. They don't understand and they don't care. But this last point that I'm going over, this is the one that they really don't because their lives have not taken a hit as far as people who make a lot of money. They've been providing for their family or themselves. They've been able to afford multiple houses, probably have multiple houses, probably have a house, whatever. You know, oh, the prices of cars going up. Well, y'all just need to make more money. It's that simple. We are not asking to be rich. We are not asking to be able to afford, Bentley coupes. We are not asking to, have high-rise mansions and penthouses. We are not asking to have yachts and boats. We are not asking to live luxury lifestyles. What we want, I don't give a fuck if it's McDonald's or if it's a factory where they make plastic bottles. What we want is when we walk in to these spots and we fill out this application and we do this job interview, I don't give a fuck. I ask what the wage is, man. I found out recently you're not supposed to do that. I've been asking that shit whole time, and I've gotten jobs doing that, so I don't give a fuck. But when we go to ask the wage or when we find out what the wage is, I don't give a fuck where you live in America. The dollar amount should not be in the single digits. The dollar amount at this point, I'm not gonna lie, bro. Even at $20 an hour, it's not hitting like $20 an hour would hit in 2015. It's just not. Inflation is crazy, bro. So with that being said, those are the things that really got us here to where it's like a lot of people are like, man, fuck a job. What is the alternative? Because at the end of the day, everything that I said is crazy. But it's like, wait a minute. If I'm not affording to be able to live for real, and I don't got kids, I don't got a wife, I don't got a husband, whatever the case may be. Shit, bruh, why am I working here? Why am I working at this place and still fucking struggling? I'm about to fucking quit. I'm about to do Uber. Some people man, I'm going to sell that gas. We'll do some hand-to-hand. Some people bro, I'm going to sell some on the Etsy store. I'm going to sell something. I'm going to do something. I'm going to tell you what I see a lot of people doing, even dudes. Cats getting STNA fucking licenses and nursing degrees. That's what a lot of people are jumping to. Because it's like, okay, if you don't got that hustle, if you can't figure this entrepreneur shit out, what is the quickest way to a bag? Wiping some ass, man. So the crazy thing about this, man, I don't got the solution for you, dog. I wish that I did. But that is why things are the way they are as far as what the general population's mindset is. I'll catch y'all, man.